Big Bucks and Ruby Walsh are now getting on top from Punches Downs and racing up towards the line. It's Big Bucks who's going to win it. Big Bucks wins from Punches Downs and racing up towards the line. Imperial Commander is going to see off Voipuru Stades. Imperial Commander wins the Ryanair.
To Paddy Power for Ireland and Eddie O'Grady, their first win for 29 years.
Over hurdles and fences, and now a Grade 1 winner on his UK debut.
History being made at Cheltenham, the first horse to regain the Gold Cup. Quarto Star canters home from his second place.
Moving into Wednesday, another dry day by the forecast, and the first race we're going to look at on Wednesday is the Neptune Investment Novices Hurdle. Now this is the sort of intermediate distance novices hurdle, 2.5 miles. We've got an Irish favourite in Rite of Passage, an Irish second favourite from Willie Mullins in Quelle Esprit. Paul, which is the better of these two horses?
Quelle Esprit was he third or fourth in the bumper last year? Fourth. Looks like a real staying type horse. I thought that this fellow was going to go for the 3-miler, but they have Enterprise Park for that, so they must, whichever they made the decision that this fellow goes for this. Rite of Passage has been very impressive as regards on the flat. He won the November handicap probably in the most impressive fashion that the race was ever won in. He was carrying 9.4 or 5, was up near top weight, and he absolutely hacked in. But I think just Rite of Passage, on the basis of his bumper and his November handicap, won his 2 starts over hurdles. I just think he'll be hard to beat.
Lee, we've got 2 very up-and-coming trainers here, British trainers, in Donald McCain and Nick Williams represented. I'm sure you know them very well. They're both very engaging characters, and this could be a breakthrough race for them. I know Nick Williams thinks Rev de Civilla is his horse of the future, perhaps even more so than Diamond Harry. How do you weigh these 2 up?
Yeah, I mean, I think in many ways Nick Williams would probably admit to being a complete barn pot, but at the same time he's a very, very good trainer. Complete eccentric. You go into his house, there's graffiti across on the walls painted by Mrs. Williams after a...
It's not very flattering either.
No, a heated night out. They're a very eccentric couple, but they can train racehorses very well, and they know when they've got a good horse. They love Rev de Civilla. My worry with him would be, I think maybe he would be better off in the 3-mile novice than the 2-mile 5. I just wonder if he's quick enough for a Neptune Investment. However, I love Pedlar's Cross. Desperately impressive at Haydock last time. There's a real strong word for Quelle Esprit within the Mullins camp. Won the last 2 runnings of this race. The Irish generally do great in the novice hurdles at Cheltenham. I think Quelle Esprit would be a big danger. I think Pedlar's Cross, 8-1, real big chance.
The sponsor Sportingbet have seen significant money for Quelle Esprit. He's the one horse who's been very heavily supported in this race. In from 7-1 into 4-1 Quelle Esprit. When you think the Irish have the favourite in Rite of Passage, but a lot of the Irish punters are piling into Quelle Esprit. Made a lot of the running last year in the bumper won by Dunguib, ridden very aggressively that day by Katie Walsh, and finished a very good 4th in the race, having cut out a lot of the early running. Rite of Passage, I think the ground conditions could make a big difference here. We've got, if it's still decent ground on the Wednesday, this horse has got a wind problem. They tell me when he came in after winning at Punchestown, they said that he was choking his head off after running on bad ground. Running on decent ground will help this. I think he's a worthy favourite. Finian's Rainbow, when I looked round Nicky's the other day, this horse was one of the ones that I thought looked the best of the lot.
One selection for this race, Carl first.
I'll go for Pedlar's Cross.
Paul?
I'll still have to stick with the favourite.
Lee?
Pedlar's Cross.
Mick?
Finian's Rainbow as a good each way.
Right, we move on to the RSA Chase. Many will still call it the Sun Alliance Chase. Next year's Gold Cup, if you like, or those who one hopes would graduate to next year's Gold Cup. And who knows, there may be a horse or 2 horses in this race that really will give Quarto Star or Denman or both of them plenty to think about next year. Well, he's got a trio in this race as well, and he was adamant that we should consider it a trio, not just a duo of Punches Townsend long run. He's also got Burton Port, and I think, Mick, I'm right in saying all 3 of them are unbeaten over fences in Britain, isn't that right?
Yeah, it's unheard of, really. He's got unblemished records, all three of them. And interesting, the sponsors are this evening are giving 5 to 6 Nicky Henderson to train the winner of the RSA, and I think that is the absolute standout bet of the night.
And there are similarities, aren't there, in that you've got a French horse and an Irish horse. They've got very different backgrounds. Would you be worried about long runs jumping?
No. He's always, if you look at any of his races, he always takes the odd chance. He always did it in France. And again, you know, you've got a deal here where if you've a fall or refund, you can't go wrong, I think, with long run. It's, for me, I was just blown away by the manner in which he beat a good field in the Cheltenham at Kempton. He beat a horse called Tasbar, and I did one of these previews up at Doncaster with Keith Reevely, and he was absolutely gobsmacked by the way long run dismissed Tasbar's challenge in the Cheltenham. Punchestown's, on the other hand, when I won on this horse, I begged his owner Lynn Wilson not to send him to Cheltenham in any of the novice hurdles, because I said, if you look after this horse, he will win you a Gold Cup one day.
Carl, Mick doesn't think that long runs jumping will be an issue. Do you think his jockey will be an issue? An amateur jockey in this race, a lot of pressure.
Yeah, I do. I think it's a massive problem. The horse is difficult from what I've seen of him. He's not straightforward, and I think with one of the best pros on him, I think it would be heart and mouth stuff, let alone a good amateur.
Punchestown's very good horse. Possibly, though, from what we've been hearing, not the ideal preparation. I just think long run is bigger, and like Mick, couldn't have Diamond Harry. I don't think he's good enough, but also I think if you look at his run here last season in what is now the Neptune and Newbury in the Long Walk, when push really came to shove and he had to dig deep, he just seemed to wander under pressure, ran around a little bit. Not convinced about him, much more convinced about long run.
I think it's a 2-horse race, and I'd be in the long run camp as well.
The Queen Mother Champion Chase, we've been talking of a 2-horse race. Is this a 1-horse race, Mick?
I think it's a bit of a guessing game as to see which mastermind that turns up. If we get the mastermind that turns up that we saw at Newbury last time, it won't matter what runs, they won't get anywhere near him, basically.
I think Kalahari King is really starting to blossom into what they always hoped he would be, which is a very, very good 2-mile chaser. I think he's a horse now that will be that much better at Cheltenham again. There is, I don't think, any finer trainer than Ferdy Murphy at getting horses prepped for the Cheltenham Festival. They always go there absolutely on their A game. However, although I've backed him and I'd love him to win, I think he possibly will do. The race does revolve around Masterminded. In that, if the Masterminded turns up that we saw win this race 2 seasons ago, nothing can beat him, because on that form he's a freak of nature.
I think even if he's below par, if he's just got one rib broke, he'll still win. I just can't see anything to beat him. Kalahari King was reported to be very, very fat and overweight at Donny, and he won a decent handicap, won it well. Ferdy, he always gets his horses ready for Cheltenham. He's not bothered about the first half of the season. He always likes to just before the sales in May, he likes to have some success, and he's been very successful at it. That's his shop window. But I am a big fan of Kalahari King. He was very impressive last year, and Graham Lee, he's also a great fan of his. He loves the horse. But I think he'll finish second, but Masterminded will win. There's nothing that can beat him. Big Zeb, not a great jumper. Twist Magic seems to prefer Sandown and right-handed tracks. The others just aren't good enough.